There's been a lot of public back and forth in recent days about who he's going to fight. You have made offers to Billy Saunders and to Callum Smith. Where do we stand with Canelo's next opponent?
Well, there's been multiple offers out there. They're all on the table. You know, it's funny because everybody talks a big game. Well, I want Canelo. I can beat Canelo. That's BS. Nobody wants to fight Canelo. They're all afraid of him. He is the superstar in boxing. And if you fight him, you'll make the most money. What's the problem? Pull the trigger. Let's make these fights happen. I've offered BJ Saunders a fight, and he's balking at it. I've offered Smith a fight. He's balking at it. I have 4 other guys that I can negotiate with and talk to. If you guys don't take it, then we're moving on to somebody else. But he will fight in May.
What's your timeline, though, on making a deal, though? Because, you know, this time last year or last summer, there was a lot of back and forth, and it cost Canelo his day.
Time is running out. I have until Sunday, tomorrow, or Monday the latest, or else I'm moving on.
Oscar De La Hoya warns Billy Joe Saunders and Callum Smith and says they have until Sunday or Monday to decide if they're going to accept Canelo's offer to fight in May. Either way, they have multiple options. What up, Fight World? It's your boy Ego, and I'm back with some more boxing. Make sure you smash the like button. Also, subscribe to the channel for the latest and greatest in boxing. If you want to become part of the gang, notification gang, please hit the bell icon. Shout out to the Super Chats, channel donations, the Venmo donations, the Cash app, and the Patreon family. We working. Sign up for ESPN Plus below using my link. It definitely helps the channel. You can now bundle it with ESPN Plus. Great service. You get it with Disney Plus and Hulu. One price, all 3 apps, $12.99. Let's get it. Now, Oscar De La Hoya, he's done some recent interviews, and so has Eddie Hearn. Eddie Hearn says that his fighters, Billy Joe Saunders and Callum Smith, have rejected initial offers for a Canelo fight. He says they both, and maintains that they both really want to fight Canelo. However, they're not just willing to accept any deal. You know, the deal got to make sense, and it got to be right for them to fight. They said they really want to fight Canelo bad, but, you know, they're not just desperate and willing to take peanuts or, you know, things that are in the contract that don't suit, you know, make for a fun, fair fight for them as well. And De La Hoya responded to ESPN. He called Callum Smith an idiot, and he was on DAZN for Ryan Garcia's fight, and he basically said it's funny that guys bring up Canelo's name thinking they can beat him, but they can't beat him, and they're just talking. And when it comes down to it, he's basically saying they're avoiding Canelo. And you guys heard the audio at the beginning. De La Hoya warned Billy Joe Saunders and Callum Smith, stating, yo, if you don't want to take this, we got plenty of other options that we're going to pursue. He says, in fact, we got 4 other people that are in the queue that we can just move on to. He says Sunday, by the latest Monday, we're deciding, and the train is moving if they don't want to come to terms and, you know, make the fight. I want to give my thoughts. I think Oscar De La Hoya is capping. I don't think he has first of all, you have to understand Canelo has a lucrative deal through DAZN. So whatever fights have to be something of a certain quality that is acceptable to DAZN as well. So what other 4 fights could he be talking about? You know, because they've wasted time negotiating with Ryota Murata, and for whatever reason, a deal was not reached for Canelo to fight in Japan. Then the offers were sent to, presumably, it sounds like, Billy Joe Saunders and Callum Smith, who have both rejected with their manager, promoter, Eddie Hearn. So who is De La Hoya? Who are these other 4 people? Caleb Plant just fought last night. You know, I heard some rumor about Caleb Plant, but that's highly unlikely. First of all, Caleb Plant literally just fought last night, and he's a PBC fighter. And so far, they have not been able to facilitate any major PBC fights except for Andy Ruiz and Derevyanchenko, none of which the first fights weren't considered and deemed major. Plus, Triple G versus Derevyanchenko was a mandatory, so Triple G had to fight him, you know. So I don't really give the promoters credit for making fights where it's a mandatory, like Gary Russell and his mandatory Jojo Diaz, because if you want your fighter to get a title shot or you want your champion to keep their belt, then guess what? They got to follow the rules and, you know, fight once the mandatory is called. And then the other fight was Andy Ruiz, and he was just a late replacement thought to get laid out by Joshua. And the only reason they did a sequel is because there was a rematch clause that was triggered from Joshua's side. So something put in the contract. So really, these aren't things that where the fights were considered big, except for the second Joshua Ruiz, which I just mentioned. The only reason that happened is because of a rematch clause. So De La Hoya hasn't shown a great relationship with Al Heyman or the ability, neither has Eddie Hearn or anyone on DAZN, to produce a hot fight like Ryan Garcia, Gervonta Davis, or even a Gervonta Davis coming to DAZN for Tevin Farmer. They just simply haven't made any fight like that, right? So I don't know who these other 4 people allegedly are. You have Demetrius Andrade, who's with DAZN, but I haven't heard any negotiations. I haven't heard any reports or any sources, nor do I think Canelo's looking at fighting him. And De La Hoya said that Charlo, the train had left the station. Charlo just posted on his social media that he has a fight date coming soon, announcement coming soon. So I'm really curious to see who these other people are. And I think in this particular equation, Eddie Hearn has the upper hand. And the downside for DAZN is this. The downside is you have basically 2 guys who would otherwise be rival promoters doing their own thing, both under the DAZN umbrella, and they have different prerogatives and different goals. Golden Boy's goal is to preserve Canelo. You know, he's the cash cow, the biggest earner over there, and to put him in fights that do numbers and make DAZN happy and make their bank accounts happy. And that's the same goal, but for Eddie Hearn. Eddie Hearn, why would he want to just send Billy Joe Saunders or Callum Smith when he's already lost like at least 3 fighters, Rocky Fielding, Danny Jacobs, Liam Smith, all Matchroom Eddie Hearn fighters who have lost to Canelo. So I think Eddie Hearn's kind of hip to it, and he's not willing to just send over more people to presumably lose to Canelo unless they can beat him. And it's very hard to, you know, knock him out. He has a good chin, and it's hard to beat him on the scorecards. And other than that, he's just a really good fighter. So you might not be able to beat him skillfully. So the odds are against you fighting an A-side like Canelo based on historic, you know, the history shows us that it's hard to beat Canelo. So I think Eddie Hearn's hip to this. He can instead do Demetrius Andrade, Billy Joe Saunders, or Billy Joe Saunders versus Callum Smith, an all rematch room card, and don't even need Canelo. So it's crazy to see. Canelo is in a bad position, and Canelo's in a position where he's supposed to be the man in charge and the guy, and he's had several fights from Kovalev first negotiations to Derevyanchenko, IBF mandatory negotiations, to allegedly Charlo, to Murata, to recently Billy Joe Saunders and Callum Smith, all of which have at some point fell through. Now, Canelo can absolutely still fight Callum Smith or Billy Joe Saunders, but it's, I guess, a matter of budging and making them feel comfortable and giving them whatever they want or whatever they're not happy with. But all I know is time is running out. Canelo's supposed to fight on the quote-unquote Mexican dates, and that's the Cinco de Mayo weekend, the first week of May. So the fight week would be the end of April, and we're about to exit the month of February. So how much time are you giving yourself to really promote this, do a press conference, have a training camp? Most training camps last from 8 to 12 weeks. The longer they wait, the more they'll run out of time. So I think Canelo, since he's been on DAZN, his career is taken a downslide, and it's looked harder and harder to negotiate his fights. And, you know, he's just losing star power. You know, this never was the case before, and we've never seen past A-sides like Floyd Mayweather have to go through any of this. Like, if Floyd selected you, the team got the fight done. So it's going to be interesting to see how Golden Boy plays this. De La Hoya, he's doing a bit of double talking as well. De La Hoya had said that just the day before the news broke about Billy Joe Saunders and Callum Smith rejecting the offer, De La Hoya had just done Ryan Garcia fight week obligations at the weigh-in or press conference, and De La Hoya says Canelo's next fight, we pretty much have it done, but I can't reveal names because, you know, things happen, people raise their prices, but it's almost done, and it's a very dangerous option, guys that could beat Canelo. You know, he's like, oh yeah, these guys have a chance to beat him, and then as soon as they rejected the money and the deal that was offered, De La Hoya is calling Callum Smith an idiot, saying these guys don't really want to fight Canelo. They're afraid and they know they can't beat him. So it's like, that's double talk. Which one is it? The day before, when you thought you had a deal almost done with presumably Callum Smith or Billy Joe Saunders, you said this was going to be a very tough, you know, fight and hard fights for Canelo. And then now you're saying that they have no chance. And that's why they're finagling and trying to hold out for more. So really weird to see Canelo's career handled like this, especially since he's the guy who's making the most money in boxing actively and has his sports, like record-breaking sports deal. The Zone definitely needs a hit, and they definitely need a fight that is up to their standards as well. Let me know how you think this plays out, but I made it's funny because before all this came up, I really just made a video like, yo, I'm just looking at the times and the calendars. What's taking so long for Canelo's announcement? And now we see. And then on top of that, we're hearing that Canelo Alvarez and De La Hoya aren't even on speaking terms. So looks to be a mess. We'll see how it plays out. I'll keep you guys locked. If you're new and this is your first time on my channel, consider subscribing. I do daily content. We do the live streams. You know, we have some fun here and talk boxing. Drop your thoughts in the comment section. If you love what I'm doing, smash the like button. As always, hate, comment, and subscribe. Till next video is Ego, signing off. So if you enjoyed this video and want more content like this on the channel, you can show your appreciation by going to the PayPal donate button or the YouTube support button. And you can donate any amount that you feel is equivalent to the value of this video. Much more to come. Thank you guys for your support. Boxing Ego, the future of boxing.